We haven't shot an episode in a while, so we're back.
It's been a while. We're back.
We're back, baby.
So back.
Just like Hunter said after he shot his buck, I'm so back.
We are so back.
We are so back. Welcome back to the Encounter Podcast, guys. Haven't been here for a minute. Missed it a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes been thankful that we haven't had to shoot sometimes as well. So, but we're back, baby. Today's episode is going to go in great theme with this week.
If we get it posted in time.
It'll be posted, don't worry. But sad news. I know we haven't updated you guys in a long time. Chiefs have fallen to 9-1 on the season.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to be at the time that we post this. Hopefully
Lord
10-1.
willing, 10-1.
But that's an update. Sad times for us. But all that to say, today's episode is on gratefulness,
Thanksgiving.
being thankful. Some would call it Thanksgiving.
Some would.
Some sources
The
would say.
Pilgrims called it Thanksgiving.
Some sources would say Thanksgiving. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna jump right in. Sam, you got anything? What do we got
Me
cooking?
to start.
Yeah.
This was your idea.
Okay. I got a couple verses. Where do you want me to start at?
Oh, I got a verse.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'm glad that after I asked you and you told me you wanted me to go first, you're gonna go.
Where's my phone? So there's a classic verse that says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything with prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God with thanksgiving." Oh, yeah, it says that. It's just a different order. So, basically, the whole idea is that Thanksgiving is the antidote of anxiety, right? And I know that every pastor who ever talks about anxiety mentions this study, but they had that study where the part of the brain that processes anxiety and fear can't be like active at the same time that processes Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild.
Just like the study says, like you can't both be like anxious and being like worried about the future and like what's gonna happen in the future, and be thinking about like turkey and gravy and mashed potatoes, and it's like it just doesn't go together. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
It's the same part of the brain that thinks about, phenytryptin and turkey and like stuffing.
phenytryptin?
Yeah, that's the chemical in turkey and in milk. You know, the one that makes people tired.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's true. It's actually been a study that your brain can't both think about Thanksgiving dinner and anxiety at the same time.
I think so.
Yeah.
So basically that's it for this week's podcast.
So,
Hope you guys enjoyed.
yeah. No, but for real, I do think that is cool. A couple weeks ago, I was really struggling, just like being anxious and worried about, what the future is going to hold with, just decisions that had to be made. Like there was a lot of tests, just a lot of things going on, like my personal life. And I was talking to Courtney actually, and I was talking to her, and I don't know, it's not like I didn't know, but the Lord just reminded me that like the best way to combat anxiety is through thankfulness. Because in anxiety, what are you doing? In anxiety, you're focusing on yourself. You're focusing on what the future is going to look like. You're focusing on what you want for your life. So many options. Am I going to make the right choice? Am I going to make the wrong choice? You're focusing on yourself and the future. Whereas gratefulness or thankfulness really recenters it on the present, and it recenters your mindset on what the Lord has given you in the time.
Oh, man.
And so like anxiety, like it thinks about the future and it thinks about yourself, whereas Thanksgiving thinks about the present and it thinks about the way the Lord has blessed you.
Yeah.
So I was just talking with Courtney about that, and I don't know. It really helped because that day I was just really struggling with a lot of anxiety about stuff, and I kind of just put it into practice.
And then you started thinking, man, I am so thankful for Sam.
Yes.
And all your anxiety went away.
That's definitely something like that. But for real, you're worried about all the things in the future, and then you just start looking like, man, look at how the Lord's blessed me right now. Like I have the ability to get an education right now, like at a college, like I have the family that I have, like we have the church body that we have the friends that we have, and you can really like assess all the things that you have, and it's like, man, look how the Lord has blessed me.
Yeah.
Look where I'm at in my relationship with him. And that, you can be thankful and look at all the ways that the Lord has blessed you, and like be going through like hard times and like be really struggling and like not have a lot of things, but it's like, if I'm awake today, the Lord has a purpose for me today. You know,
Yeah.
like even looking at it in like that smallest aspect is like, as soon as you start looking at the things the Lord has blessed you with and not the things that you want or the things that you're worried about, it totally switches it. And I mean, it brought me a lot of peace the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So
I think another aspect of Thanksgiving, though, for real, is like that's the basis of worship. And so in the Psalms, because the Psalms are all like songs and they're worship, it says over and over again, like, shout in his courts with thanksgiving and praise and, all those things. And it's also a way to share the gospel too. Because I found another verse this morning. It says, I wash my hands in innocence and go around your altar, O Lord, proclaiming thanksgiving aloud and telling all your wondrous deeds. So it's like when you are thankful, then you see the hand of the Lord in your own life, right? You're a lot more perceptive of what the Lord's doing in your life. And when you see what the Lord's doing in your life, then you can use that as a testimony to share with other people.
yeah.
And so we can't be ungrateful and see the hand of the Lord at the same time. Because when we see what the Lord's doing and recognize that it's good, right, then we're naturally going to be thankful for it, regardless of if it's what we want or not.
You know, I think there's just something about like seeing how the Lord's worked in your life that does just bring a sense of peace, like just in general. Because it's like, man, like he is working, like he is doing things, whether I recognize it or not, like he is working in my life.
Yeah.
And like he is showing up. And I feel like that just brings a sense of peace.
Yeah. I mean, like the other day I was sick and I had to sing for worship. We do worship for our young adults, and I had a pounding headache. This was before I was actually sick, but I had a pounding headache. Like I was dying, and of course there's drums, there's an electric guitar. I'm going crazy here because everything's just so loud. And I was praying as we were practicing, and I'm like, Lord, just take away my headache, and then I can like worship you without distractions. I can worship you without all this stuff, and like as I was praying it, the Lord was pretty much like, hey, like this is going to be your only time that you're able to worship me with a headache,
Yeah.
and worship me through, like, obviously that's such a minor example,
Yeah.
but this is the only time that you're going to be able to worship me through that pain. And so it was like really weird because then I was like grateful, and it's like, it wasn't what I wanted, but I saw how beautiful it was, regardless of what I wanted. And so then I was able to like worship and set aside everything else, and it was cool. So
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, like thankfulness or like being grateful allows you to see the opportunities that the Lord has.
Yeah.
Even in the times that you don't think or you don't want, or like it's hard.
yeah,
Like that's a great example of that. That's actually really cool.
it's a tiny example.
Well, I mean, it's the principle though.
But yeah,
Like even in the hard times, like looking at what the Lord has blessed you with and looking at, the ways that he's worked in your life or the way that he is working in your life, like that switches your mindset and then allows you to see everything as an opportunity. It's like, yeah, I'm not ever going to be going through this same struggle again, the exact same way I'm going through it right now, and have the opportunity to worship the Lord, and have the opportunity to pursue the Lord, and have the opportunity to share my testimony, because life is every day is different.
And like I personally sometimes find it easy to like get upset with God when he's like not doing something, like, so it's like healing.
Crazy take.
Like, well, yeah.
No,
but
yeah, I know what you're saying.
like, oh, like, God, why aren't you healing this person? Or like,
Yeah.
like I'm praying for this person I love to be healed, but I just see them like, not. And it's like, if you're the God who can heal and you're the God who can do all these things, then why aren't you? And it's almost like, well, actually, I'm going to heal you for all eternity and you're going to be completely fine. So like, don't get so caught up in this little moment, like God speaking. If I choose not to heal them now, then they're still going to be healed on the other end of this.
Yeah.
And they're getting this opportunity now, like I said earlier, to worship me, to praise me, to draw near to me in the pain, to draw near to me in the sickness.
Yeah.
Right? And they're never going to get that opportunity again. So it's like, I don't know, just even thinking about that, it's almost like we're going to get the healing. We're going to get the restore.
One day.
Restoration. Yeah. It's just right now, it's not confined to that. And so maybe the Lord's trying to teach you something through what he has you in.
I think it's so cool when you see people who like, have had bad times in their life or like, I don't know, struggle with stuff, yet they still have a beautiful testimony because the way the Lord has worked. Like, because they have that aspect of thankfulness. Like, who's that guy? Who's the dude that's like the motivational speaker, but it's like only a body? Nick, he's like the Russian guy.
Oh.
Nick whatever.
Yeah, the guy who doesn't have limbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, you see somebody like that and, to society, it's like, man, if you don't have any limbs, like, why would you even want to be alive? Like, you can't do anything, right? But it's like, his testimony is so beautiful because he looks at, like, every opportunity that the Lord gives me to engage with somebody. Like, they see me as, like, man, that'd be a horrible life to live. But I'm so grateful that the Lord allows me to touch people's lives in the way that he does. Because, because of the way that his life is, people feel bad for him, right? But whenever, like, he shows them that it's, like, it's not about the physical life, but it's about, like, your spiritual life. Like, that's what's really impactful. It's, like, that's just so beautiful, right? So, I don't know. I just think that's something that's super cool. Because sometimes I find myself in situations where, like, at the hospital or something, I'll see somebody and I'll be like, man, I don't even know if I'd want to live if I was in this condition, right? But then it's like, well, that's me trying to be in control, first of all. And then also that's me not even seeing the Lord working in my life as a possibility in that moment. Because I'm just fully focusing on myself and not what the Lord is doing in other people's lives around me.
True.
So it's like, as soon as you, like, start looking at how the Lord has blessed you, it's like, just like your story, there's so many more opportunities and examples that open up because of the gratefulness.
There we go.
I don't know. Sometimes I think about that. 1 Thessalonians 5:16 says, "Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." So that's verses 16, 17, and 18. Like, that's just a really good reminder. Like, the will of the Lord is to rejoice in every circumstance. Like, James opens with that, right? Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and give thanks in all circumstances. Like, that's the will of for our life, like, right now.
Yeah, and they go together so closely.
Yeah, like those three things.
I don't think you can do one without the others. To rejoice, you really do have to pray and you have to be thankful.
You have to be thankful for sure.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about what we were reading last night in John, where it talked about the disciples being glad when Jesus got on the boat. But that doesn't have to do with anything except for rejoicing.
I mean, this isn't really part of the episode, but I was reading in the end of John where Peter and some of the other disciples just go back to fishing, right? And then Jesus, he's alive again, and he is standing on the beach, and he's like, you boys fishing? And they're and they're like, yeah, we haven't caught anything all night though. And he's like, oh, okay, just throw it down the other side. And they do it. And then Peter realizes it's Jesus, and he leaves behind the whole boat, and he leaves behind all the fish, and he takes off his like robe and just jumps in the water and swims to Jesus. And that's crazy. I don't know. That's so cool because he was so caught up in who Jesus is that everything Jesus gave didn't matter anymore because he just wanted Jesus.
Yeah, and all the things that he was concerned about before.
Yeah.
How much fish they're going to catch, all this stuff. Like, even like he takes off his robe, right? Like, all the things he was concerned about before, he doesn't even consider because Jesus is there.
Yeah.
And that just shows how valuable and, like, how much more significant, like, Jesus is in our lives than the things that he blesses us with. So,
hammer
Hammer and nail, stacking them bales.
Nail is be thankful.
Gratitude
Is the attitude
of Thanksgiving.
of Thanksgiving.
No, but for real, gratitude really does change a lot of things in your life, and it really can change your perspective on what the Lord's doing and even just where you're at in your life. So
I'll throw up hands, praise you again and again.
yeah, we'll for sure cut that, guys.
Do I sound good here?
Sound about normal, so
So good.
definitely something.
All right.
But yeah, what's your hammer, dude?
My hammer. Pray.
Pray. Hammer's pray.
Nah. I mean,
Yeah, no, pray actually works. I mean, it says it right there.
pray actually does work.
Like, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances.
I think you have to pray to change that like mindset, but like in times where you don't understand what's going on, understanding that the Lord's still in control and he's allowing that for a reason. And so if he's allowing it and he's good, then it has to be good, or good has to be coming. So praying for the eyes to see and refocusing your eyes on how is the Lord working in this and what does he want to do in this moment, rather than why am I
going through this?
Yeah. Like the other day, a long time ago, my truck broke down and I was sitting in this neighborhood for like an hour and a half, okay? And my truck is not starting. And then my parents are both out of town, so Ethan's coming, but I'm just waiting for him. And I was just sitting on like the side of the road. And I'm like, Lord, like, show me why you have me here. And then this lady drove up to her house, which was right next to my truck. And she came out and she asked if I need help. I'm like, oh no, I'm just waiting for a friend. And then we started talking about prayer. And so I don't know, it was cool. And it's like, even if it's just that little interaction.
Yeah.
So.
Like maybe that was the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that was the reason that your truck broke down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you never would have thought about that if you would have just been focused on, man, why did my truck break down? You know,
Yeah.
this is horrible. Why is this happening? You know, but you had that other mindset where it's like, you know, maybe this is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would go more towards like the anxiety aspect, like to combat anxiety, like really focus on what the Lord is doing in your life and really focus on the blessings you have. Like, I have hot water. Like, you know, we have furnaces to warm our houses. Maybe not Sam and I, but you guys. You know, but even things like that, like when you're struggling with anxiety or you're scared about the future, or just a good like practice in general is to focus on the things that the Lord has blessed you with and really look for those.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, you know, this doesn't really go with the
Journal.
episode. Yeah, no, journaling for real journaling is really good for so many reasons. But once you start looking for those things or analyzing the way that the Lord has blessed you and the blessings that he's given you, it'll come more naturally. And it'll be a practice that just naturally happens in your mind.
Yeah.
Once you do start doing it and once you do start like practicing it. But sometimes it can be difficult to start, especially when like we live in a society that only focuses on ourselves. But once you get into it, it's like, man, look at the way the Lord blessed me. Like, you know, didn't get in that car wreck, you know, Sam pulled out in the middle of the intersection and we didn't even get hit.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically for sure. But for real, like just looking at the way that the Lord has blessed you in your life, and it doesn't even have to be in huge ways like being rich or like going on crazy trips or like having crazy talents. But even in the little things, like this blanket is so soft, you know?
Yeah.
Like for real, I'm alive today. If you're watching this episode, God's blessed you.
There we go.
You're alive.
'Cause you get to see us. Okay. Anywho. Yeah, that's it for the episode, right?
Yep. I don't know if you guys can see this, but
We didn't turn the heater on before we came
we didn't
out
turn the
here.
heater on, so it's whatever the temperature is outside is probably warmer than it is in here.
Anywho, that's it. So, thanks for watching. See you guys.
See ya. Enjoy Thanksgiving, guys.